at the next stage. The consumer has searched for information, they have a consideration set, and now they're going to evaluate the different products and ultimately, hopefully, make a purchase. At this stage, in today's world, with all the possibilities and all the different things you can consider, online, offline, in the store, many times consumers are overwhelmed. We have choice overload. And sometimes when that happens, consumers choose not to choose. There's a famous study that was done by a Columbia professor, Sheena Iyengar, where she set up two tables of jams in a supermarket in California. On one table, she had 6 jams, and on the other table, she had 24 jams. And the idea here was it was a tasting table, and they waited to see how many people came up to the table to taste these jams. They counted the number of people who came up on the days when they only had 6 and on the days when they had 24. They also then had a coupon that consumers could use to purchase the jams. And so they also counted how many coupons were used to purchase the jams. It was very interesting, the results. What they found was when there were 24 different jams on the table, more people came up to the table than when there were only 6 jams on the table. However, when they counted how many coupons were used to purchase jams, in the end, more people purchased jam from the tables that only had 6 jams than the tables that had 24 jams. They concluded from the study that whereas a lot of variety was attractive and invited people to come up to the table, too much variety, too much choice was overloading, and people chose not to choose. This was a very interesting study and caused a lot of consternation among marketers. Maybe we have too much choice. However, I ran another study myself. Coincidentally, I had a tray with 6 flavors of jelly beans and 24 flavors of jelly beans. And on separate occasions, I put the tray with 6 out and asked students, kids, to choose as many jelly beans as they wanted. And on other occasions, I put the tray out with 24 jelly beans and asked students, 24 different flavors of jelly beans, and asked students to pick as many as they wanted. Unlike the jam study, what I found is that the students picked more jelly beans from the 24 tray than from the 6 tray. Now, there are a lot of things that are different between these two studies. They could choose as many jelly beans as they want, the jelly beans were free, etc. So there are a lot of reasons why the results are not the same. But to me, what's interesting is clearly just 24 different flavors of jelly beans or 24 different flavors of anything is not necessarily too much. Why did they choose more in my 24 condition versus my 6 condition when the opposite was found with jams? The purpose of my experiment, though, interestingly, was not to show choice overload, which is what the purpose of the jam study was. But what I was going for was to show perceived variety versus actual variety. So I didn't just have 2 different conditions, a 6 and a 24. I actually had 4 conditions. I had 2 different trays with 6 flavors. In one tray, they were organized, and in the other, all the jelly beans were all scrambled together. Similarly, with the 24 flavors of jelly beans, in one tray they were organized, and in the other tray they were all scrambled together. And again, I had 4 different conditions where the kids could come in and choose as many jelly beans as they wanted. And what I found is that when there were only 6 flavors of jelly beans, the consumers or the students chose more jelly beans when they were scrambled than when they were organized. But in the 24 condition, they chose more jelly beans when they were organized than when they were scrambled. Why is that? In the 6 colors, when they were organized, it didn't seem like very many jelly beans. It wasn't fun to pick. And so people weren't attracted to the assortment as much, and they didn't choose as many jelly beans. But when the 6 flavors were scrambled, it seemed like more variety, and they were incented to choose more. In the 24 colors, it was exactly the opposite. 24 flavors of jelly beans, that's a lot of jelly beans. And it was fun, and people chose a lot. But when they were all scrambled up, it seemed like too much. It was, again, choice overload. And it was in this condition that I replicated what happened with the jams. There was too much choice. People couldn't make sense of it, and they chose fewer. So the bottom line here is that to remember, once again, that the consumer's decision-making process is staged. At the assortment stage, when they choose variety, variety is good. People are attracted to lots of different choices. It's fun, they like it. When they move on to the choice stage and they're trying to decide which one they like, then too much variety can become complex. And so the issue then, to reduce the choice overload for the marketer, is to figure out ways to take a lot of variety, because variety is not necessarily bad. People like a lot of choice, but to make that choice manageable. One way in a market like this, where they have lots and lots of different kinds of cheeses, and if you go to those cheese display, you might be overwhelmed by all the different flavors of cheese that they have. But in this store, in order to make that easier to parse, or easier to understand, they have knowledgeable cheese experts standing there who are trained in cheeses and attributes of cheeses and can help you figure out which cheese you want. Another way to do it, if you don't have people in the store to help it, is to line up the products in such a way that the attributes are alignable, in such a way that you can figure out what's better than something else. So for example, you can align the attributes of calories. You can align it on a shelf so the things that have highest calories are at one place, and you can easily see what has high calories, what has low calories. Or you can align it by price, or you can align it by different types of colors or different types of attributes. The more alignable you make the attributes, the easier it is for the consumer to parse through the complexity. Another way to help consumers deal with complexity is to help them learn their preferences. That's a really big advantage of this omni-channel world. You can have tablets or you can have apps on consumers' phones that help them learn the different attributes of complex products or product lines and help them figure out what they like and what they don't like. And that helps the consumer deal with the complex product categories. Finally, the way you organize it on a shelf makes a big difference. If you organize it on the shelf in a way that lines up with the way the consumers think about the category, it's much easier for the consumer to find exactly what they want. So for example, if you buy wine by the type of grape it is, and if the shelf is organized by grape, then you're going to easily find where the Chardonnays are or where the Burgundies are. On the other hand, if you think about it by grape, but the store is lined up by region or country or shape of the bottle, whatever it is, it doesn't line up with the way you think about it, then it's going to be much more complex for you to go through that choice, a very large product set, and the choice can be overwhelming.